Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
One of the fun parts about doing a pre-recorded show like this is sometimes you get a chance to do everything over, and that's what happened. I just recorded about 15 minutes of this program, and then I discovered my mic wasn't plugged in, but the needles were moving. The needles were moving because it was recording off-air, radio, so go figure. Anyway, if you think that's funny, this hour we're going to have comedy. We're going to have Father Knows Best from Robert Young from 72 years ago. And we're also going to have from 72 years ago Ann Sothern in The Adventures of Maisie. And we're going to wrap it all up with an episode of Claudia from 1948. And all from this date in history. Thank you for joining us on this date in history. This is the 11th day of October, 284th day of the year, 81 days remaining till we get to 2024. Along the Natchez Trace in Tennessee on this date in 1809, explorer Meriwether Lewis died under mysterious circumstances at an inn called Grinder's Stand. Inventor John Stevens' boat, the Juliana, began operating on this date in 1811 as the first steam-powered ferry with service between New York City and Hoboken, New Jersey. In Washington on this date in 1890, the Daughters of the American Revolution were founded. In 1910, former President Teddy Roosevelt became the first U.S. president to fly in an airplane. He flew for 4 minutes in a plane built by the Wright brothers at Kinloch Aviation Field in St. Louis. In 1929, J.C. Penney became the first nationwide company with stores in all 48 states. Alaska and Hawaii were not states at that point in time. The last store built in Milford, Delaware. In 1932, President Roosevelt received a letter from Albert Einstein about an atomic bomb. That was back in 1932. Federal Communications Commission on this date in 1950 issued the first license to broadcast television in color. Ironically, the license issued not to NBC or RCA, but to CBS. CBS's system was not compatible, meaning that if you watched a CBS color broadcast on a regular television set, a black and white TV, you didn't get anything except snow and garble, because it was a mechanical system that wasn't compatible with existing black and white sets. RCA disputed, blocked the license from taking effect, and their compatible color system would take hold. In 1968, NASA launched Apollo 7, the first successful manned Apollo mission. Astronauts Wally Schirra, Don F. Isley, and Walter Cunningham on board. It was on this date in 1975, people heard over NBC.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night!
At the time, it was groundbreaking, edgy comedy. Your first guest host was George Carlin, and of course, Carlin kept it clean. He didn't use those 7 words. But that first couple, 3 seasons were just hilarious. They had some bombs, but by and large, it worked well. In 1984, 5 people killed in a bombing at the Grand Hotel in Brighton in the UK. It was an attempt by the Irish Republican Army to wipe out Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and her Conservative government. As Thatcher headed for a conference room to deliver a speech, the IRA issued a statement. Today we were unlucky, but remember, we only have to be lucky once. You will have to be lucky always, it warned. Give Ireland peace, and there will be no war. Thatcher responded.
The fact that we are gathered here now, shocked but composed and determined, is a sign not only that this attack has failed, but that all attempts to destroy democracy by terrorism will fail.
IRA member Patrick McGee had planted the bomb 3 weeks earlier, staying at the hotel under an assumed name. He received 8 life sentences but only served 14 years in prison. In 1984, Vice President George Herbert Walker Bush debated Congresswoman Geraldine Ferraro in what became a solid, if contentious, debate on the state in 1984. At one point, the vice president made what looked like a condescending remark to Ferraro during a discussion of the Carter administration in Iran and the Reagan administration in Lebanon. Bush said, "Let me help you with the difference, Mrs. Ferraro, between Iran and the embassy in Lebanon." Ferraro nailed the vice president.
Let me just say, first of all, that I almost resent Vice President Bush, your patronizing attitude that you have to teach me about foreign policy. I've been a member of Congress for 6 years. I was there when the embassy was held hostage in Iran, and I have been there and I have seen what has happened in the past several months, 17 months with your administration. Secondly, please don't categorize my answers either. Leave the interpretation of my answers to the American people who are watching this debate. And let me say further that no one has ever said that those young men who were killed through the negligence of this administration and others ever died in shame. No one who has a child who's 19 or 20 years old, a son, would ever say that about the loss of anybody else's child.
George W. Bush did not have the eloquence or tact that President Reagan had. How he got along in that administration, I will never be able to tell you. But he tagged along. He served another term as vice president and then one term as president and then sunk his own ship, don't you know? In 1984, aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger, 1984, astronaut Kathryn D. Sullivan became the first American woman to perform a spacewalk. In 1986, President Reagan and Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev met in Reykjavik, Iceland, for a summit.
We go to this meeting for freedom, and we go in hope. As a great American who knew the extremes of hope and despair, Robert E. Lee once said, "History teaches us to hope." Today we're making history, and we're turning the tide of history to peace and freedom and hope.
The summit led to a 1987 treaty restricting nuclear weapons. In 2000, the 100th Space Shuttle mission was flown. In 2001, the Polaroid Corporation filed for federal bankruptcy protection. In 2002, the Senate joined the House in approving the use of American military might against Iraq. And in 2002, former President Jimmy Carter won the Nobel Peace Prize for his 1970s Middle East diplomacy. Passing away on this date in history, comedian Chico Marx. Via duck, via not goose, via not... No, you know, Chico Marx, a very funny man, passing away on this date. Also, French singer, actress Edith Piaf. Comedian and actor Red Fox. Elizabeth, I'm coming! That's some of the cleanest stuff he ever said, you know. My favorite husband co-star, Richard Denning, who starred along with Lucille Ball on the radio. Trumpet player and composer Neil Hefti. So much great music. Most of you know the Batman theme. He composed that. And also, passing away a year ago today, she starred on Broadway in Mame and on TV in Murder, She Wrote, Angela Lansbury, passing away last year on this date at the age of 96. Now, birthdays on this date include Eleanor Roosevelt.
In the last 6 weeks, I've traveled a good deal to different parts of our country, and I think it might interest you if I run through a few of the things which stand out in my mind in relation to my journeys. In the first place, as you may have guessed, I go on lecture trips for a variety of reasons, but the chief one is that signing the contracts a long time ahead means I have to fulfill them, and therefore I plan them for the times in the year when I know I can leave home.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt's wife until his passing, and the First Lady wrote a newspaper column. She did a radio program, that particular excerpt of that show from April 30th, 1940. Eleanor Roosevelt, born on this date in history. She would pass away in 1962. Let's see. Other people born on this date, including jazz drummer Art Blakey, Wilma in the original Flintstones, Gene Vanderpyle, singer Dottie West, and actor from 90210, Luke Perry. Now, still with us, musician Daryl Hall of Hall & Oates is 77. From AbFab, Don French is 66. From Working Girl and Saturday Night Live, Joan Cusack is 61. From Mystery Science Theater 3000, Michael J. Nelson is 59. Rikishi in the WWE is 58 today. He has retired. In fact, I think he has some sons in the WWE, doesn't he? I thought so. 3 sons, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, Solo Sikoa, all in the WWE, and they are sons of Rikishi, who is still with us at this date, and he turns 58 today. From Boondock, and another wrestling name from AEW, Taz. His son is wrestling as Hook in the AEW. Taz is 56 today. Ricochet, another wrestler in the WWE, 35 today. Non-wrestlers include from Boondock Saints and the Dead Zone, Sean Patrick Flannery, 58. From Bones, Emily Deschanel is 47. From All My Children, Chuck and Doom Patrol, Matt Bomer, 46. She was Dawn Summers in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Also in Gossip Girl, Michelle Trachtenberg is 38. And rapper Cardi B is 31. Those just a few of the people who celebrate the 11th day of October as their birthday. Now, if this happens to be your birthday...
Hi, we're the 4 freshmen, and we just want to say... Happy birthday to you!
And we go back 72 years to October 11th, 1951. Robert Young, Father Knows Best, from 72 years ago today. That's up next, right here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Friends, this is Bob Hope. If an atom bomb were to hit your home city, would you know what to do? Remember, one explosion of an atom bomb could kill 75,000 and maim 100,000. This is only one kind of a disaster which could strike. In addition to many forms of enemy action, there are the dangers of fire, flood, earthquake, and traffic. Knowing what to do before, during, and after a disaster can improve your chances of survival. There is something you can do and do now. You can learn a pattern of survival. Your local Office of Civil Defense is ready to help. Persuade your club, your church, your friends, and your neighbors to help to learn to live. Remember, this is the atomic age. No one can escape its hazards, but everyone can prepare. Listen carefully. What you are about to hear can save your life. Do you know the siren signal in case of atomic attack? Do you know how to find shelter? Do you know how to give first aid? Do you know what will be done for your safety? For further details, consult your local Office of Civil Defense.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, we step back 72 years, October 11th, 1951. Robert Young and Father Knows Best.
Mother, is Maxwell House really the only coffee in the world? Well, your father says so, and your father knows best.
Yes, it's Father Knows Best, transcribed in Hollywood, starring Robert Young as father. A half-hour visit with your neighbors, the Andersons. Brought to you by America's favorite coffee, Maxwell House. The coffee that's always good to the last drop. According to the renowned Victor Hugo, no one ever keeps a secret so well as a child, which proves just one thing. In his long and colorful career, Victor Hugo never bought a birthday present for his wife. You know, when you get right down to it, that may be the major difference between Victor Hugo and our friend Jim Anderson. Jim bought a dilly of a birthday present for Margaret, And as a result, the white frame house on Maple Street is literally crawling with secrecy. Like this.
But, Father, I didn't know you didn't want me to take it.
I told them distinctly I didn't want it delivered until Monday. Where am I going to hide it?
Well, there must be lots of places.
Oh, sure. Name 3 places where I can hide a 9 by 15 rug.
All you need is one place.
All right, name 1 place.
Well...
It's like hiding a hippopotamus.
I'll be right in.
Never mind.
I didn't come down the stairs, Dad. It must have been somebody else.
What was?
The hippopotamus.
Nobody said anything about anybody coming down the stairs.
But you said... What's that?
It's Mother's birthday present.
The rug? She'll see it.
I know she'll see it. That's why...
What kind of a surprise is it going to be if she sees it?
Bud, why don't you go away for a few days? You need a vacation.
I do?
Mother! She isn't here, Kathy. Where is she?
Where do you think I ought to go?
Bud, don't ever ask me that again.
Isn't anybody going to tell me? What's that? Why can't we just put it in the attic? Mother never goes up there.
Because I know your mother. Just let me hide the rug in the attic, and that's where she'll live.
How about Joe Phillips' uncle's farm? That'd be a good place.
Bud.
I think it'd be a good place.
For what, Daddy?
For hiding a rug.
What rug?
That rug.
Oh.
I didn't mean to hide the rug. I meant for a vacation.
Who said anything about a vacation?
You did.
Bud, let's start all over.
Do I have to go out in the hall again?
No, just... The garage wouldn't be any good. She's out there 10 times a day.
Daddy, how about in back of the furnace?
Sure, and have the whole thing burn up.
Daddy!
Hey, I know. Why don't we unroll it and hide it under the old rug?
Because it'll stick out 1.5 feet on each end, that's why.
Daddy!
Couldn't we sort of fold it up a little?
Don't be a goon. There'd be a big lump.
Oh, I don't know. We could tell your mother it was the body of an old friend.
Father.
What if she peeked?
Bud.
She'd find out it wasn't a body, and then what?
Bud, Never mind.
Daddy!
What is it, Kathy?
We better hide the rug or Mommy'll see it.
That's a good idea. Thank you.
It's a good thing we don't have to hide the billiard table.
But...
That's it.
We're going to hide the billiard table?
Bud, give me a hand with the rug.
Okay.
Kathy, open the door to the playroom like a good girl.
Yes, Daddy. What are you going to do with the rug, Father?
We're going to hide it in the one place your mother won't ever look. We'll open it up and lay it on top of the billiard table.
Father, that's wonderful.
Yes, sir. She'll never find it there.
The door's open, Daddy.
Thank you, kitten. All right, Bud, let's go before your mother gets home. I'll take this in.
Okay. Heck, I'd have thought of the billiard table, but I didn't know it was a green rug.
It happens to be blue.
Blue? She'll spot it right away. Who ever heard of a blue billiard table?
We're going to put the cover over it.
Oh. Hey, that's good.
Thank you, Albert Einstein.
Watch your step, Father. Kathy left her skates on the stairs. I did not.
You certainly did.
I certainly didn't.
Never mind, Bud. Keep going.
Why don't you two stop arguing? I wasn't arguing.
You certainly were.
I certainly weren't.
All right, Bud. This is fine. Now put it down.
Boy, is that ever heavy.
Now, Betty, why don't you and Kathy take the cover off the table?
Okay. Come on, Knothead. You take the other side. Isn't this fun?
Then Bud and I can lift the rug.
Jim.
Oh, my gosh. Come on, get that cover off.
Hurry up, Kathy. I am hurrying.
Bud.
Well, it slipped, Dad.
Well, pick it up.
Jim, where are you?
All right, Bud, roll it out.
I don't think it's going to work.
It's got to work.
Aren't you going to answer Mommy?
We'll send her a wire in the morning. Bud, there's too much on this end. Pull it down.
Okay.
Father, the cover's getting heavy.
Come on, Bud.
Jim!
We'll send you a wire in the morning.
Kathy.
Well, you said.
It's all set, Dad.
We'll be right up, honey. All right, the cover, quick.
Jim, what on earth are you doing down there?
Smooth it out and hurry.
It's all covered, Father.
What have you been doing?
Doing? Why, just,
Sitting around. That's all.
Well, you certainly sit hard. You're all out of breath.
I'm not, Mommy, and I lifted the whole...
Kathy!
I guess I didn't.
Margaret!
They're all in the playroom, Hector. Come on down.
Never mind, Heck. We're coming up.
Why, Jim, I thought you wanted Hector to see the billiard table.
No.
What?
I mean, Heck isn't interested in billiard tables.
Jim, have you torn the top again?
Oh, no.
We put it on very carefully.
Oh.
You put what on very carefully?
Look, I gotta get home, and if you're gonna stay down here all day...
You didn't have to come down, Heck. We were on our way up, weren't we, kids?
You bet.
Yes, sir.
Were we?
Dear, as long as he's down here, show Hector the table and let him go home.
Heck, you don't want to see the billiard table, do you?
Sure I do. That's why I came over.
But it's just an ordinary billiard table.
Jim!
What's the matter, pal? You got it stuffed full of old bodies or something?
That's pretty good, isn't it, Betty? Full of old bodies.
If a body meets a body coming through the billiard table.
Is this what happens when you buy a billiard table?
I don't know what's gotten into them, Hector. I've never seen them act so silly.
I wasn't acting silly.
I noticed that. Everything's all mixed up.
Bud, did you ever show Mr. Smith the pictures?
What pictures?
Any pictures. Heck, why don't you go upstairs with Bud?
I don't want to go upstairs with Bud.
Would you like to see how I can multiply? 8 times 3 are 24. 8 times 4...
That's enough, Kathy.
But I know up to 9 times.
I said that's enough.
Yes, Mommy.
Hector.
Honey, you know we're being very impolite. Don't you think we ought to offer Hector a cup of coffee?
Jim.
After all, he's a guest in our home.
I came in for 1 minute to see the billiard table.
Mother, I've got a wonderful idea. Let's go upstairs and make some coffee.
Boy, that'll be fun.
All right. If that gets a little dull, we can watch the linoleum.
Golly!
Come along, children. Let's all get hysterical together.
I love to make coffee. Don't you, Bud?
Oh, sure. I'd rather do that than almost anything.
I would, too.
Say, Jim, I was talking to a doctor the other day.
Wait a minute, will you?
I don't know if I should. You know, if you get these things early enough...
Well, a big help you turned out to be. Of all the times to show up.
I wanted to see the billiard table. What's wrong with that?
Hector, don't you understand? I couldn't show it to you.
Why not?
Because it's got a rug on top of it.
Jim, this doctor I was telling you about.
You don't believe me, huh? Okay, look. You see? A rug.
Okay, so it's a rug. That makes you all right, huh?
I'm hiding it.
Yeah. Look, Jim.
Hector, it's a surprise for the living room.
That's fine, pal. It'll probably tickle the heck out of the kitchen, too.
It's for Margaret. It's her birthday.
Oh. Oh, well, why didn't you say so?
I just did.
Jim,
Yes, Margaret?
will you please come up here? I don't think I can take these children for another instant.
We'll be right there, honey. Come on, Heck.
Okay. The kids are in on the secret, huh?
They're all right. They won't say anything about it.
Yeah.
Margaret might suspect something. Say, Heck, how would it be if I hid the rug over at your place?
Fine. We have rugs hidden all over the joint.
Heck,
got a closet full of pancakes, too.
It'll only be until Monday.
Jim, why don't you just give it to her? How can you surprise anybody with a rug?
Believe me, it isn't easy.
Well, if you want to bring it over to my place, okay.
Hey, watch
but
it. Hiya, honey. Everything under control?
Not quite. I sent the little monsters into the den.
Well, let's see what they're up to, Heck.
Just a minute, Jim. You go ahead, Hector. I'd like to speak to Peter Pan.
Okay. I'll send up 2 red flares if I need help.
I'll be right in, Heck. Nice guy, Heck.
All right, Jim.
What?
What was all that hoop-de-doo in the playroom?
Hoop-de-doo?
Something was going on in the playroom, and I want to know what it was.
Well,
Yes?
There's only one thing I can tell you, Margaret. It's a secret.
I see. After 18 years, we have secrets.
Well, yes. I'm sorry, but that's it.
All right, let's both have secrets. The next time you talk in your sleep, I'll take notes.
Fine, you... I don't talk in my sleep.
No?
No.
All right.
When did I ever talk in my sleep?
Last night.
I did?
Mm-hmm.
That's impossible. Why... Well, what did I say?
You mean last night?
Yes.
It's a secret.
Boy, there are enough secrets floating around the Anderson home today to keep the ordinary family supplied for a month. Well, what I have to say is no secret. My business is coffee, Maxwell House coffee. Rich, full-bodied, truly satisfying coffee. And I honestly believe that if you enjoy really good coffee as much as I do, the coffee for you is our Maxwell House. You see, you just won't find that wonderful good-to-the-last-drop flavor in any other coffee. No coffee but Maxwell House. And there's a good reason for that. Coffee, you know, grows all over the world, and there are all kinds of grades and varieties. But mark this, Maxwell House selects the very finest, extra flavorful varieties, the kinds that are grown only on the mile-high plateaus of Latin America. For example, fancy Manizales coffees are chosen for their fragrant mellowness, superb Medellins for extra richness, choice Bucaramangas coffees for fine, full body. And it is these choice varieties, blended in just the right proportions, that produces that world-famous good-to-the-last-drop flavor of Maxwell House coffee. No wonder, then, no other coffee tastes like Maxwell House. No other coffee is made like Maxwell House. So if truly good coffee helps make your day a better one, start enjoying our Maxwell House, the coffee that's bought and enjoyed by more people than any other brand at any price. It's the one coffee that's always good to the last drop.
It's a breathless moment later as Jim Anderson enters the den of the white frame house on Maple Street. But this isn't the fun-loving, gay-spirited Rover boy we left a minute ago. This is a grim-faced and visibly shaken Jim Anderson, a man with a whole new set of problems. Like this.
So there they were, see? With men on second and third.
Daddy! Father, does she
get away with it? Does she know what her present
Wait a minute, please. Look, why don't you kids go into the kitchen and help your mother?
She just kicked us out.
She said she was going to scream.
Well...
Is anything wrong, Father?
Oh, no, I tell you what, you all go into the living room and wait for me. I'd like to talk to Mr. Smith for a minute.
Holy cow.
All we do is get kicked out of places. Hurry up or you'll get kicked in places. Daddy!
Come on, Noodle Nose.
Well, stop pulling me. All you do is pull me. We'll be in the living room when you want us, Father.
Thank you, Betty.
See you later, Mr. Smith.
You bet.
Oh, what a spot.
Does she know?
I don't know.
Then what are you so worried about?
Hector, there comes a time in the life of every married man...
Jim!
You know what I just found out?
What?
I talk in my sleep.
Oh, for crying out loud.
What do you mean, oh, for crying out loud? That's a serious thing.
You're nuts.
I am, huh? How would you like to talk in your sleep?
About what?
That's the trouble. I don't know.
Jim, look, a guy like you who's never done anything wrong in his whole life...
How do you know I haven't?
You mean you have?
Naturally. You? Oh, I don't mean anything big or serious or anything, but, well, what if I talked about the fish?
What fish?
The fish you and I caught up at the lake. Only we didn't catch them, we bought them at the market.
Well, they weren't biting.
Oh, my gosh.
Now what?
The poker game last week, I lost $12.
So?
I told Margaret I lost $2.
Boy, you're a real devil, aren't you?
Heck, you don't understand what this means. A man's home is his castle. His word is law. And then what happens? He goes to sleep and zowie, he's defenseless.
When was he any other way?
But I'll be afraid to fall asleep. There's no telling what I'll say.
Well, didn't Margaret give you a hint?
She gave me nothing but a dirty laugh.
That's bad.
You know, I feel just like I'm going down for the 3rd time. I can see my whole life floating by.
See anybody we know?
Heck, it isn't funny.
It's the silliest thing I've ever heard.
Is that so? I'm not afraid of what I've done, because I haven't done anything, really. But what if I make up things? Well, what if I have a dream, and I'm chasing Betty Grable?
Call me up. I'll join you.
Hector, why don't you go home? All you want to do is make jokes.
I wanted to go home 10 minutes ago, but no, I have to hear about talking in your sleep and rugs and...
The rug?
Jim, let go of my coat, will you? You'll tear it.
What if I told her about the rug?
Well, it's better than Betty Grable, isn't it? Jim, will you please... Hey, wait a minute. I got an idea.
If I talked about the rug, the kids will never forgive me.
Why don't we find out?
What?
Look, kids can find out anything, especially from their mothers.
What's that got to do
with... So
your
kids try to find out if you talk about the rug.
But I still won't know if I said anything
about... And if you didn't talk about the rug, they'll find out what you did talk about. Clever, huh?
In other words, I'm to make spies out of 3 innocent children.
Good idea, huh?
It isn't bad. Not bad at all.
Well, this time I'm going to go before I get mixed up in anything else.
Wait a minute, Heck. I'll take you to the front door.
Okay.
Look, Heck, exactly how do you think I ought to go about this?
Just lay it right on the line.
About the rug, you mean?
Sure. So long, kids.
Bye, Mr. Smith.
See you later, Margaret.
She can't hear you from here, Heck. I'll tell her you said goodbye.
Okay. And Jim, you don't have to worry. Leave everything to the kids. They'll figure it out.
You don't know my kids. I'll probably wind up in Alcatraz.
Well, you know what they say. Cherchez la femme.
What's that got to do with it?
Who knows? I had 1 year of high school French. Well, I'll be seeing you, pal.
I'll let you know what happens.
Don't bother. I'll read about it in the newspaper.
Sometimes I wish I had a job in a nice, quiet lighthouse.
Did you and Mr. Smith get everything straightened out, Father?
Well, we talked things over.
Daddy, Bud says girls can't be president, and they can too, can't they?
I didn't say they couldn't. I just said I'd move, that's all.
Kids, I've got something pretty serious to take up with you. I may have told your mother about the rug.
Father, how could you, President?
Now, wait a minute. I'm not sure I did. I said maybe.
You mean you don't know?
That's right.
But if you told her...
I said something in my sleep last night, and I don't know what it was.
Gosh.
It might have been about the rug, or it might have been about other things.
What other things?
Never mind.
Father, that's awful.
What'd you do a thing like that for?
Because I wanted to see if the bedroom had an echo.
Oh.
How could you tell if you were asleep?
Let's go back to the rug.
Father,
Yes?
would you mind if we... Well, I guess we shouldn't.
You shouldn't what?
Well, I was thinking, if some of us pretended we knew what you said, Mother might tell the rest of us, and... No, you wouldn't want us to do that.
Why wouldn't I? I mean, if you want to...
You don't mind?
I don't mind at all.
You know what I don't understand? What's everybody talking about?
I don't understand it either. Look, Bud, we'll go into the kitchen, and you pretend you know what Father said.
I don't know what anybody said.
You heard what Father said last night.
How do you know?
You pretend you did.
What for?
Betty, I think you'd better try something else.
Well, you better try it fast. Mommy's coming.
Jim,
I'm right here, honey.
the coffee's all ready if you... Where's Hector?
He said for me to tell you goodbye. He had to go home.
Oh, dear. After I went to all that trouble.
Come on, Bud. It isn't fair, and you know it.
Huh?
What did Father say?
When?
Last night.
Well, how do I know?
Betty, it's no use. Maybe we'd better...
Just a minute, Father. Mother, if a boy hears what his father says when he's talking in his sleep, does he have the right to keep it a secret?
Why, Bud, did you hear your father last night?
Of course he did. Didn't you, Bud?
I didn't hear anybody last night.
Bud, please.
But I told you. Oh. You mean... Oh. Oh, sure, I heard him. I just remembered.
Betty, believe me...
Yes, sir, I sure did hear him. Boy, was he funny, wasn't he, Mom?
Yes, dear, he was very funny.
I'm glad somebody enjoyed it.
What was funny about it?
Well...
Never mind, Bud. We don't need you. Mother's going to tell us. Aren't you, Mother?
No, Angel, I'm not.
You're not?
Mm-mm.
But if Bud knows...
It isn't the sort of thing one bandy's about, is it, Bud?
Gosh, no.
And, Bud, you're not to tell them either.
Oh, you can count on that.
We can count on what?
I'm not allowed to tell.
Jim, this whole thing is pretty obvious.
What is?
Using the children to find out what you said last night.
Well, good grief, Margaret.
Is that what you're trying to do? Kathy, please. But I know what Daddy said. You do?
Why didn't you say so?
Nobody asked me.
Kathy, why don't you and I go for a little walk?
Okay.
Jim, she doesn't know anything about it.
Yes, I do, Mommy.
You couldn't possibly. You were sound asleep.
Oh, I didn't hear it last night. I heard it this afternoon when you were telling Mrs. Hathaway on the phone.
Oh, you told Mrs. Hathaway.
I did no such thing.
Well, you said something about Daddy. Don't you remember? You said, "Hello, Lucille. How's Laurie's cold?" And then you said, "My goodness, isn't that awful?" And then you said...
Kathy, will you please get to the point?
I have to remember, don't I?
Well, go ahead.
Kathy.
Then she said, "You'll never guess what Jim and the children are getting me for my birthday."
Margaret.
Oh, dear.
And then she said Helen Phillips was shopping at Gorman's, and she saw Jim go into the rug department.
Holy cow.
And then she said, "Kathy, why don't you stop it?"
We've heard enough.
Yes, Daddy.
I'm terribly sorry. I didn't mean to spoil your fun.
You knew all the time, didn't you?
Yes, dear.
About the rug, all that excitement in the playroom?
Yes, dear.
Oh, Margaret,
Yes, dear?
happy billiard table.
The flavor of truly good coffee means a lot in your house, doesn't it? And naturally, you want to enjoy the one coffee with the most in flavor. Well, it's because of flavor, wonderfully good to the last drop flavor, that more people buy and enjoy our Maxwell House coffee than any other brand. And if you'll pour yourself a steaming, fragrant cup of our Maxwell House, you'll say this is the best coffee ever. Then count all the truly good cups you get from each pound. You'll agree, Maxwell House is today's coffee buy. This weekend, then, for the most in flavor and value, take home the familiar blue tin of Maxwell House with a big white cup and drop. Enjoy that real taste of contentment in the one coffee that's always good to the last drop.
It's midnight in Springfield, and an autumn moon hangs low in a star-swept sky. Maple Street is quiet and dark, except for a small light in the bedroom of the Anderson home. There, life goes on, like this.
Jim, won't you please come to bed?
In a little while, honey. I want to read another 2 or 3 chapters.
You said the same thing an hour ago.
I did? Well, it's a very interesting book.
Certainly must be. Jim,
Yes, Margaret?
are you and the children very angry with me?
Of course not. We aren't angry at all.
Then why won't you come to bed?
You go to sleep, and then I'll come to bed.
Jim, are you still worrying about that silly talking business?
I'm not worried about anything. You just go to sleep.
Come over here.
Now, look, Margaret.
Come over here.
Good grief. Treat a man as though he didn't have any... All right, I'm here.
Sit down. Now, would you like to know what you said last night?
It isn't important, but if you want to tell me...
Well, you had the most peaceful smile on your face. It must have been a beautiful dream.
Honey, please.
Then you sighed, and you said, so softly, anyone for tennis?
Good night, Margaret.
Good night, dear.
Boy, I'm fickle.
You mean?
One day I'm in love with strawberry jello.
A swell dish.
You bet, but next day I'm in love with raspberry jello.
Another swell dish. And look, everybody loves all 6 delicious Jell-O flavors.
My wife loves jello because it's so easy to fix and so easy on the grocery bill.
Easy to fix, thrifty to buy. That's Jell-O.
That's my love.
How's your supply, folks? Remember, it's Jell-O for red letter desserts.
So off to the cupboard you go and reach for Jell-O.
Join us again next week when we'll be back with Father Knows Best, starring Robert Young as Jim Anderson, with Roy Bargy and the Maxwell House Orchestra. In our cast were Rhoda Williams as Betty, Gene Vanderpyle, Ted Donaldson, Norma Jean Nilsson, Herb Vigran, and yours truly, Bill Foreman. So until next Thursday, good night and good luck from the makers of Maxwell House, America's favorite brand of coffee. Always good to the last drop. Father Knows Best was transcribed in Hollywood and written by Ed James. You will want to read an interesting feature on Robert Young in the current issue of Parade magazine.
Join Mr. Keene, Tracer of Lost Persons, on NBC.
October 11th, 1951, Father Knows Best. I'm Wyatt Cox, and this is Classic Radio Theater.
Civil defense is common sense. This is Boris Karloff. No one can guarantee the survival of every home during a nuclear war, but a strong civil defense can save millions of lives. Make sure that yours is one of them. Learn how to protect your home. Call Civil Defense today.
Thanks for joining me on this edition of Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station. Go to MyPillow.com, promo code Wyatt, finds you something nice there, including the MyPillow 20th anniversary pillows. Those are available for as low as $19.98 for queen size, king's $10 more. Check it out, promo code Wyatt at MyPillow.com. Call 1-800-928-4715. Let's see. We just heard from Father Knows Best. We'll be hearing next from Ann Sothern and the Adventures of Maisie from 72 years ago, October 11th, 1952. That was a Thursday. In the newspapers of that Thursday, 72 years ago, these were some of the headlines. Top atomic and military officials arranged an unusual Pentagon meeting yesterday, stirring speculation that they might be restudying the old question of granting the armed forces general custody of nuclear weapons made by the Atomic Energy Commission. Elton C. Fay, writing for the Associated Press, reports the conference between Secretary of Defense Robert Lovett and AEC officials, headed by Chairman Gordon Dean, disclosed in a routine visit listing issued daily. Defense Department officials recall no similar meeting in more than a year. The conference arranged in the wake of a series of recent developments. House Senate conferees agreed yesterday to knock out a provision in the tax raise bill for withholding of income tax at the source of dividends, interest, and royalties. They accept a Senate amendment forbidding the federal government to cut off Social Security aid to states which make public the names of relief beneficiaries. And if they were reported to have reached tentative agreement on the size of the individual income tax boost, but the compromised figure was not announced pending negotiation on other points in dispute. The Defense Production Administration settled tentatively on the figure of about 950,000 automobiles as the production ceiling in the first quarter of 1952, a cut of some 13% from present output. Officials disclosed that the decision made yesterday, it revises earlier plans to cut production to about 800,000 passenger cars and station wagons because of the shortage of alloy steel. President Truman will hand the Wage Stabilization Board a dispute between the United Auto Workers, CIO, and 12 divisions of Borg-Warner Corporation, according to the White House. Some 4,000 auto workers walked out at 6 Borg-Warner plants yesterday in advance of a strike deadline set for today at all the plants affected by the dispute. The House voted $12,821,000 to build an Air Force base in Grandview, Missouri yesterday over the protests of a Republican member who said the project will enrich President Truman's family. By a party-line vote of 91-36, the chamber rejected a move by Congressman H.R. Gross, Republican of Iowa, to delete the Grandview base from a $4.4 billion appropriations bill carrying funds for hundreds of military construction projects around the world. Final action on the bill postponed until today. President Truman signed into law yesterday authorizing $7.483 billion in arms and economic aid to anti-communist nations, but said it does not mean the U.S. is engaged in an armaments race with the Soviet Empire. He acted minutes before the House Appropriations Committee approved a money bill actually appropriating the money for the same purpose. The U.S. and France have extended full backing to Britain in its refusal to budge from the Suez Canal zone until the Egyptians agree to new defense arrangements for that vital area. Sources said Britain is prepared to set up an airlift to supply the 10,000-man canal garrison if Egypt tries to cut them off in its determination to oust the British from the Suez. The aroma of frying bacon and eggs brought Corporal Robert E. Price of Marion, Ohio, out of a sound sleep at Fort Hays near Columbus, Ohio. Price was awakened by a brassy-voiced sergeant who demanded, "Okay, are you going to sleep your hitch away?" Then Sergeants George Williams and Charles W. Flick hove into view with a trayload of fried eggs, bacon, orange juice, toast, and coffee. Price was ordered by Flick, "Don't get up from bed. Today it's breakfast in bed." The grinning Flick watched while Corporal Price ate breakfast. It was Price's 23rd birthday. Captain William H. Brennan, commander at the post, decided his men should have their birthday off, sleep as long as they want, and on awakening be served breakfast in bed by their sergeants. Price, the first to get the treatment. Those some of the day's top news stories as reported in the newspapers of Thursday, October 11th, 1951. On your radio, you just heard Father Knows Best. Next, The Adventures of Maisie, starring Ann Sothern, as classic radio theater with Wyatt Cox continues.
Civil defense is common sense. This is Fred McMurray. Home shelters can be built for as little as $100. Simple plans for building inexpensive home shelters are available free from your civil defense office. Ask for a copy of the Family Fallout Shelter booklet.
Visit our webpage, classicradio.stream, for information about our programs. You can learn how to build a classic radio collection of your own. You can find our social media links, and if you're so inclined, you can buy me a coffee. That would always be nice. So you can find our I mentioned your social media links. Pay attention to what you're saying. Nobody else does. Why should I? Anyway, up next, we will have Ann Sothern in the Adventures of Maisie. This episode, originally broadcast October 11th, 1951, 72 years ago.
Hiya, babe. Say, how about a... Ouch.
Does that answer your question, buddy?
The Adventures of Maisie, starring Ann Sothern. You all remember Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer's famous Maisie pictures. In just a moment, you will hear Maisie in radio, starring the same glamorous star you all went to see and loved on the screen, Ann Sothern. But first, your announcer. And now, here's Ann Sothern as Maisie.
Yep, I'm Maisie, like the man said. Maisie Revere of Brooklyn. My boyfriend Eddie Jordan and I live in Mrs. Kennedy's boarding house. And when we get enough money, we're going to get married. But we don't make very much. You see, I'm in show business, and even when I work, I'm underpaid. The other day, I left my salary on a table in a theater, and a stagehand thought it was a tip. Eddie doesn't do much better and spends his spare time dreaming of the day when he'll be so rich he won't have to lift anything heavier than a deck of cards. I still feel there are more important things than money, but I wish I knew what they were. Well, speaking of money, the other day a friend of Eddie's, who's always been crazy about me, dropped in at the boarding house. His name is Harry Adams, and he's a pretty sharp customer.
Maisie.
What's the matter, Harry?
Maisie, I got a terrible problem.
Well, don't worry about it, Harry. Some people overcome their personality.
You got me all wrong, doll. I'm a sweet guy at heart. I just do lousy things to people to hide my inferiority complex. I'm a sweetheart. Honest, I am.
What's Eddie doing back so soon? Have they finally gotten smart and fired him?
Oh, no, Mrs. Kennedy. It isn't Eddie.
No.
Harry, you remember my landlady, Mrs. Kennedy, don't you?
Hello, Miss Kennedy.
Uh-oh, it's Harry Adams. Excuse me.
Where you going?
I'm going to lock up the silver drawer in the refrigerator.
All right, I'll go. I know when I'm not wanted. I don't have to have no house fall on me.
Oh, for heaven's sakes, you're trying for the Academy Award or something. Sit down and stop trying to tear my heart out.
Boy's got a lot of talent as an actor, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's a ham bone at heart. Well, to be or not to be, what is your problem?
Well, it's just one of them things. I got an aunt who's from Texas.
And she's got a lot of money.
Yeah, I guess you heard about her, huh?
No, but I heard about Texas.
Yeah, well, Aunt Hattie's rich. Very rich. Maybe even filthy rich.
My, what a lovely person she is.
Well, what about her?
Well, we've always carried on a correspondence.
Mm-hmm.
And I've told her about what I was doing here and so forth.
Yeah.
And I admit I made myself look pretty good, but I'm only human, ain't I?
Shall we vote on it?
The vote's 2-1 against you, Harry. Go on.
Well, anyway, I told her I was engaged to a real nice girl, and I sort of gave her a word picture of you, Maisie.
Uh-oh. Haven't I seen this movie somewhere before?
Oh, Maisie, you know I always been crazy about you, but you always liked Eddie. I didn't think anything would come of it if I did a little personal dreaming in my letters to Aunt Hattie. And now she's coming to town, and she wants to meet you. She's staying at the Park Vanderbilt Hotel.
Well, nothing doing, Harry. Tell her I left town.
But this means a lot to me, Maisie. Won't you please do it just for me? Sure would appreciate it.
Oh, all right. I'll pretend to be your fiancé. But you'll have to get Eddie's permission first.
Oh, gee, thanks, Maisie.
And don't tell him you talked to me.
Oh, I won't, Maisie.
And if he dares to give you permission, I'll chop him into pieces little enough to feed an ant. And I don't mean from Texas. Hello.
Maisie, this is your temporary fiance, Harry Adams.
Harry. Oh. Oh. You mean Eddie gave you permission?
Sure.
Why, that heel. Maybe I am going with the wrong guy after all.
That's what I've been telling you for years, doll. Of course, he did drive a pretty hard bargain, but I didn't mind.
Now, wait a minute. Don't tell me Eddie charged you for giving you permission. Who does he think he is, subletting me out like this?
Oh, he didn't mind at all. The only problem was getting together on time.
Oh. You had to haggle over the price, huh?
Well, he said that since you'd be pretending to be my fiance, I'd probably get a chance to kiss you. That you had soft, lovely lips and kissed like a dream. What can I say? I gave in.
Wait till he gets home tonight. Well, go ahead and tell me. What kind of a rental did he get for me?
He traded you to me for a pair of skis.
Well!
He promised me he'd break the news to you tonight. He's gonna stop and get the skis on his way home.
Good. He can try breaking the news on me, and I'll try breaking the skis on him. Right where it'll do the most good.
Hello, Eddie.
Hello, Mrs. Kennedy.
Maisie, your dream prince is here with a pair of skis.
Hello, Eddie, darling.
Hello, gorgeous. Mrs. Kennedy, would you mind turning your head the other way while I get my before-dinner smooch?
Not at all. I doubt if I'd see anything new, different, or educational.
Here's your kiss, Eddie.
Hey, I can get a better kiss than that from any waitress in Childs.
Well, I expect the undivided attention of a man who's kissing me. And you were kissing me and checking over the binding on the skis at the same time. Where'd you get 'em, anyway?
Oh, I just traded for them. Maisie, I'd like to talk to you in the sitting room for a minute.
What'd you have to give for those skis, Eddie?
Oh, nothing much. Just some tired stuff I had around the house.
Yeah, they're very nice skis. Are you sure what you traded wasn't nice, too?
Nah. Look at the beautiful curves in those skis.
So what? Look at the beautiful curves. Oh, well, never mind. What were you going to tell me?
Well, you know Harry Adams, don't you?
Oh, sure. He's the guy you hate so much, isn't he?
No, not exactly.
Oh. Well, go on. What about Harry Adams? And stop running your hands over the curves of those skis. Here, I'll take them.
Well, Harry's really a swell guy, Maisie, and I want you to get to know him better.
Oh.
Now, the poor guy's in a spot right now, and I know you'll help him out. He needs a girl to pretend to be his fiancée for a couple of days, and, well, I thought of you right away, beautiful.
Oh, well, that was sweet of you, Eddie. What's the job pay?
Pay? Maisie, surely you don't expect to get anything for that, do you?
Why, certainly it's an acting job, isn't it?
Well, of course it is.
Keep out of this. Maisie, this is one of those things you do out of friendship. I'm ashamed to think you'd want some kind of recompense for it.
Oh, you are, huh? Mighty nice skis here. Oh, oops, I dropped my handkerchief. Will you bend over and pick it up for me, Eddie?
Why, of course, Maisie.
This is the moment I've been waiting for.
Oh, Maisie!
That'll teach you to sell me for a pair of skis, you hypocritical crumb.
Swat him again, Maisie.
Maisie, don't do it. Maisie!
Now take your skis and get out of here. I'm going to go through with this thing, but I don't want to see you again until I do.
You scratched one of them.
Maisie, are you going to do it?
You bet I am. Eddie's taken me too much for granted, and I'm going to make him regret every moment of this.
Well, Harry, so this is Maisie Revere.
That's right, Aunt Hattie. Maisie, this is Aunt Hattie.
Hello, Aunt Hattie.
Well, hi.
And this man with the unhappy face is Eddie Jordan.
Very funny. Oh, very funny.
I don't know how this here hotel furniture is, but sit down, all of you.
No, thank you. I prefer to stand.
Oh, you're looking just fine, Aunt Hattie. How's everything in Texas?
Well, it ain't so good, nephew. You see, we're having a lot of financial trouble.
Oh, I didn't know anybody from Texas ever worried about money.
Oh, sure we do, son. Well, we don't know what to do with the darn stuff. It keeps accumulating so blame fast. You see, my only worry is my money.
Gee, I'd love to share your worries with you.
Maisie, you sure are a pretty thing. I don't know how Harry managed to get you, unless he used a lasso.
No, he used a pair of skis.
You know, I haven't even seen you two kiss each other. Do they do that any different up here?
No, it's all the same, Mrs. Adams. You wouldn't be interested.
I was asking Maisie.
Oh, what do you say, darling? Shall we show Aunt Hattie?
Why, of course, Harry, sweetheart.
Hey, not now.
Well, why not, Eddie? After all, it's Harry who's engaged to me, not you.
Well, it isn't fair for you two to be smooching in front of me. I haven't got a date.
Well, you can have Aunt Hattie.
Sure. Come on over here and pucker up, boy.
No, I'd rather not. Some other time, maybe.
Sissy. Well, go ahead and kiss her, Harry.
Okay, Aunt Hattie. Come here, you gorgeous thing.
Any time you say, you handsome devil.
Don't overdo it, Maisie.
Well, now that's a real kiss. But don't you think he's bending her back a little too far?
Hey! Whoa! Harry! Maisie!
Don't interrupt him, Eddie.
Maisie, stop already.
Wow.
Boy, I don't care what happens to me now. I've lived.
Well, we've got to be running along now, Mrs. Adams.
Oh, just call me Aunt Hattie. Well, how about you folks having dinner with me tonight?
Oh, that'd be lovely, Aunt Hattie.
Oh, Harry, here, just in case you have any little expenses on the way. Yeah, here's a little money.
Gee, $100 type bill. Oh, thanks, Aunt Hattie.
Is it real?
Come on, let's go.
Well, goodbye, Aunt Hattie. See you tonight.
Goodbye, Aunt Hattie.
Goodbye, nephew. Oh, you folks get here around 7, you see. We'll go out and locate a real classy French chuck wagon.
Now, listen, Harry. What was the idea of kissing Maisie like that?
Yeah, but Eddie, old pal, I couldn't take a chance of faking it right in front of Aunt Hattie.
Oh, no, Eddie. She moved right in for a close-up.
And besides, I was carried away. I couldn't help myself. You were right about Maisie, Eddie. She kisses like a dream.
For Pete's sake, do you want to spoil her?
You're not so bad yourself, Harry.
Oh, believe me, little lady, I loved every moment of that kiss. Maisie, I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you're doing to me, for me.
Well, I'm having a good time, too, Harry.
Listen, you two, fun's fun and all that, but I'm calling this whole thing off. It's no deal, Harry.
Eddie, you can't do that to Harry. It isn't fair. Besides, if I have to quit now, you'll have to return the skis.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And you're really crazy about those skis, aren't you?
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Well, that did it. If you don't think more of me than you do of a pair of skis, I'm through. Eddie Jordan, you've just lost yourself a fiancé. Consider yourself disengaged.
Maisie!
You heard me. And Harry.
Yeah, Maisie?
I just want to announce that from now on, I'm available.
The Adventures of Maisie, starring Ann Sothern, will continue in just a moment.
Eddie, you mean she really
broke off her engagement to you.
Well, that's what she said, Mrs. Kennedy, but I can handle her.
Why don't you try making her jealous? You could pretend you'd suddenly fallen madly in love with me.
Mrs. Kennedy, that would strain the acting abilities of a Barrymore, and I'm just an ordinary person.
Don't flatter yourself.
Here she comes. I'll show you how I do this.
I can't wait to see. I'll just sit here with my paper and listen.
I'll apologize to her, and she'll say she forgives me and she loves me, and, well, that'll be that.
Hello, Maisie.
Hello, Mrs. Kennedy.
Hello, gorgeous.
Drop dead.
Now, Maisie, this is going to be a wonderful evening on somebody else's money. Let's not start it out wrong.
Okay, let's start it out right. Why don't you stay here?
Give it to him, Maisie.
All right, Maisie, I guess I deserved that crack. I was sort of a heel to trade you for those skis.
That you were. And if you had a chance to do it all over again, you'd do it again, too.
That's telling him.
Look, baby doll, I'm apologizing to you. I'm begging you to forgive me.
Well, get down on your knees, then.
Maisie.
Go on.
Well, okay.
This I gotta see.
Okay, honey, here I am. I'm telling you that I love you, and I'm asking you to forgive me. Come on, honey, say those words that mean everything to me.
Drop dead.
Maisie, after I got down on my knees, that's unethical. You seem to forget that we're engaged.
Oh, well, I broke that engagement off. Another thing, Eddie, you can consider that I'm returning the engagement ring you never gave me.
What do you mean? I gave you a beautiful diamond engagement ring.
Yeah, but the next day you got it back from me and hocked it.
Well, I thought I was making a good investment with the money.
Some investment, I'll say. A horse called Barfly at Tropical Park.
He was supposed to move to the rail and lead all the way.
Instead, he put his foot on the rail and waved goodbye to the other horses. No, I'm through, Eddie.
You know what this means, don't you, Maisie?
Yeah. Now I don't have to pick up your dinner check anymore.
Touché.
Okay, Maisie, if that's the way you feel, so okay. I'm going upstairs. Let me know when Harry Adams arrives.
I will if I happen to remember.
Maisie, are you really serious about this?
Well, I was serious. But I didn't think he'd give me up so fast. Gee, he quit right away, didn't he?
Yeah. Of course, you managed to discourage him a lot.
Well, he still deserves it, Mrs. Kennedy. Would you like to get traded for a pair of skis?
That depends on who I was traded to. To Clark Gable, yes.
Well, I guess that's Clark now.
Hello, Maisie. Hello, Miss Kennedy.
Hi, Harry.
Hold on to your jewelry. The boy bandit of Brooklyn is here.
Oh, Miss Kennedy, that ain't fair to me. I'm really a nice guy. I'm a sweetheart. I wouldn't steal a thing.
Yeah, he's really all right, Mrs. Kennedy. You just got the wrong impression once because you caught him leaving the house with an umbrella in each pants leg and your cuckoo clock under his coat.
I guess I'm just overly suspicious.
I was gonna have the clock fixed for you.
He claims the bird was coming out backwards and oohing before it cooped.
That's right. Here's an orchid for you, Maisie.
Oh.
I used some of that money Aunt Hattie gave me. Open up the box.
Oh, Harry, it's lovely.
Oh, it's nothing, Maisie. What's $20 to me where you're concerned? I'm sorry I didn't have time to write a card, but it would have said, to a charming, intelligent, and beautiful girl from someone who thinks of her always.
Oh, that's sweet.
What a cornball.
Oh, wait. There is a card in here, Harry.
There is. Give it to me. I don't remember exactly what I wrote on it.
Let me see.
Yeah.
It says, to Shirley with love from the big bad wolf. And there's a card in here from somebody called A. Nathan Wolf.
I must have picked up the wrong box by mistake.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Shirley will probably get your orchid. It's a little bigger than this one.
Yeah, that was a smooth out.
Hello, Harry.
Hello, pal.
Oh, look at the orchid Harry brought me, Eddie. Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah. Did he win it in a crap game?
It cost $20, didn't it, Harry?
Well, Eddie, I wouldn't think of taking your girl out without buying her some flowers.
Fine. It looks like you might get to keep her, Harry.
Eddie, what are you trying to do? Get a pair of skates out of him, too? Come on, let's go. good dancer, Harry.
Oh, thanks, Maisie. You're pretty slicko yourself. But I wish you'd stop talking about Eddie all the time.
Oh, it's just a habit. I've been going with him for so long. And besides, he's been making me mad the way he's been acting tonight.
Hey, look, gorgeous. I know how we can really rock him back on his heels. You want to hear before we go back to the table?
Yeah. Well, what's the idea?
We'll say you and me are going to be married tonight. How you like that?
It's a gruesome thought. But he wouldn't believe it. You gotta have a license to get married.
Yeah, I got one for you and me. Just got it the other day so I could show it Aunt Hattie. Oh. I can fix it up with a guy to pretend to be justice of the peace and marry us.
Well, okay, Harry. Let's give Eddie a good scare. Come on back to the table.
Well, there you are.
Oh, well, Aunt Hattie, why didn't you and Eddie finish out this dance?
Oh, somehow I just can't seem to dance with this boy.
Just call me Tenderfoot. She not only stomped on me, but she raked me twice with her spurs.
Oh, ain't he a card? Well,
we decided I'd live longer if we just sat here and talked.
Well, I've been telling him about the trouble we've been having, trying to fence in our Texas ranch. Every time we dug a post hole, oil would squirt up.
Well, Harry and I have a little surprise for you, Aunt Hattie. We're going to get married tonight.
What?
No kidding. Well, let me be the first to congratulate you. You make a mighty fine couple. Mighty fine. Mighty.
Maisie, you can't do this. You can't marry this drooling idiot.
And why can't I marry a drooling idiot if I want to?
Eddie, please. And I was just going to ask you to be my best man.
Okay, I accept. But Maisie, I still say I won't let you do it. Where are you going to get married? At the hotel?
Oh, no, not the hotel. It just ain't homey enough.
I know, at the boarding house. I'll have the justice of the peace meet us there, huh? And how about giving me a great big kiss before I go out the phone, darling?
You do and I'll slug you, darling.
Oh, wait a minute now. I'm writing out something for you folks might be interested in. There you are, Maisie. I'm giving it to you.
Holy smoke, it's a check for $1 million.
Well, you'll probably have some expenses. Don't take it to the bank without warning them, or it might come back marked insufficient funds.
You mean the check isn't any good?
Oh, heck no, Maisie. I've got the money. I'm just worried the bank might have insufficient funds. Come on now, let's get on with the wedding so we can start.
Well, I'm ready.
So am I.
Maisie, you can't marry this monster.
On with the ceremony, Justice. If you get stuck for words, I'll throw you the line.
Miss Revere, I know the ceremony perfectly.
Well, great. Well, let's get on with it.
Yeah. Well, the way we do it in Texas, you'd be married by now and riding through the purple sage into the sunset together.
If there's anybody here who knows any reason why these two should not be joined together in the bonds of matrimony, let him speak now or forever hold his peace.
I'd like to say something. She can't marry him. She doesn't love him.
Of course she loves me, don't you, Maisie?
Well, you don't think I love you, do you, Eddie? When was the last time you took me out anywhere?
Well, how about last Saturday? That was a big night.
Eddie, watching the ping pong tournament at the YMCA isn't my idea of a big night.
How about that bag of popcorn?
I bought that.
Oh, yes. But, Maisie, you always like to stay here and sit on the Davenport with me. What's happened?
I'm tired of a man who keeps one arm around me and the other under the cushions looking for loose change. On with the ceremony.
Yes. If there is anybody here who knows any reason why these two should not be joined together in the bonds of matrimony, let him speak now or forever hold his peace.
Stop!
Now what?
Eddie, cut it out. Go on with the ceremony.
I got 2 6-shooters here with me, and if there are any more interruptions, I'll fill you full of holes.
But, Maisie, you've never liked this goon here. He's been trying to get you to marry him for months, and you've always brushed him off. What's happened?
Well, the skis, for one thing. On with the ceremony.
Yes. If there's anybody here, etc., speak now or forever hold his peace.
Stop! What's going on here?
Oh, no, not again.
I'm marrying Maisie, Miss Kennedy.
That would be a crime, and nobody's going to commit a crime in my boarding house. Who's this old turkey in the Western outfit? I've never... Frida, Pappin' Foo!
Henrietta! Why, dearie, I haven't seen you for at least a year.
Uh-oh.
Wait a minute, do you know Aunt Hattie?
Aunt Hattie? Why, this is Frida Pappenfuss. We both used to be chambermaids at the Park Vanderbilt Hotel.
Yeah, and I'm still there, Henrietta. Oh, this Harry Adams talked me into pretending to be a wealthy aunt from Texas. Oh, I loved it. I've had a ball.
What was that? Where's Harry?
He's gone. Oh, Eddie, what a mess, and it's all my fault.
Harry rigged up the whole thing just to get some dates with you. Wait till I get my hands on him.
Well, I knew the justice of the peace here was phony, but I didn't know about Aunt Hattie. I really wouldn't have been married after all.
Pardon me for interrupting, but somebody here owes me $20.
Well, you'll have to squeeze it out of Harry. But it seems to me that's a lot for being a fake justice of the peace.
For a fake, yes, but you're mistaken about me. Everybody else may be phony, but I happen to be on the level. I am a justice of the peace.
Holy smoke. Maisie Revere, you almost became a wife.
In just a moment, we shall return to the Adventures of Maisie. And now, once again, here's Maisie.
Well, that was as close as I've been to being married in a long time. I haven't seen Harry since that night. Neither has Mrs. Kennedy. And she wants to see him, too. He took her cuckoo cock again as he rushed out. The whole thing did Eddie a lot of good just the same. He takes me out to dinner and a movie 2 or 3 times a week. Starting next week, he says. And he's quit playing pool and has taken up billiards. As for the skis, I got them as a consolation prize, and I went skiing on them, too. Sometime I'll tell you about all the interesting people I met in that hospital. Well, I gotta meet Eddie for lunch in a few minutes. I better be sure to bring some money. I know Eddie won't. Come on, Feet. Let's go.
You have just heard The Adventures of Maisie, starring Ann Sothern. Maisie was written by John L. Green. Original music was composed and conducted by Harry Zimmerman. Supporting cast included Virginia Gregg, Pat McGeehan, Gigi Pearson, Frank Nelson, and Hans Conried. John Heaston speaking.
October 11th, 1951, The Adventures of Maisie on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Coming up next, Claudia. And we wrap up this Wednesday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox with an episode of Claudia, sponsored by Coca-Cola back in the days when there was a Coca-Cola bottler in virtually every community in America. This episode from 75 years ago, October 11th, 1948.
Your Coca-Cola bottler presents Claudia, based on the famous play and novels by Rose Franken. Brought to you transcribed Monday through Friday by your friendly neighbor who bottles Coca-Cola. Relax. And while you're listening, refresh yourself. Have a Coke. And now, Claudia.
David, wake up.
What for?
Say, how long have you been awake and not saying anything about it?
Wouldn't you like to know?
How can you bear to lie awake and see me sleeping? I can't bear it when it's vice versa.
That's no problem at all. Those are delicious moments when all is peace and quiet. And you, my love, are silent beyond belief.
You've been awake quite a while, I can see that. Anyway, good morning, darling.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Not a complaint in the world.
Good. You look without a complaint, too. Nice and rested and... Waking up in the mornings was certainly the worst part when you were in the hospital.
No one to talk to.
No one to talk to, except Shakespeare. He was very devoted while you were away. He purred all night at the foot of the bed. And in the morning he'd come right over to me and stare at me till I woke up. I think he knew how lonely I was.
Maybe he was lonely, too, if you stopped to think of that.
Oh, this is a wonderful morning. Your hair's all tousled. You look about 8. I wish I'd known you then.
Hey, what is all this sentimentality?
Sentiment, not sentimentality, please.
Sorry?
It's an early morning habit with me. It comes from waking up after a beautiful sleep I didn't dream at all.
Now, that's not normal.
Who cares?
Well, I'm getting up.
Hey, wait a minute. You can't do that.
Why not?
Because I haven't told you what I woke up to tell you yet.
Only you didn't wake me because I was awake.
That is a detail.
All right, out with it. Hurry up.
Well, it's a beautiful day out. Just beautiful.
So I noticed.
Is that all you have to say about it?
What else do you want?
Well, don't you realize what a beautiful day means?
Mm-hmm. God's in his heaven. All's right with the world.
Robert Browning. Poof. I was going to give you a Claudia Norton.
Oh. Well, all right. Now, what does a beautiful day mean?
David, you haven't forgotten, have you?
What a beautiful day means?
Dr. Barry said you could go out on the first beautiful day. And this is the first one since he said that.
You don't say.
Then you did remember. That's what you were lying awake waiting for.
Not a cloud in the sky.
And Matthew Warren's cattle lowing as clear as if they were in our own backyard. I wish we had a cattle all our own.
Well, we have a pig.
That's why we need a cow.
Say that again?
Well, just having a pig is doing it halfway.
Doing what?
The farm.
Oh, the farm.
Well, you know what I mean. Now, don't pretend to be so droopy. Just look at that sky. When are we going to go out?
Now.
We haven't had breakfast.
Fiddlesticks to breakfast. We can have breakfast any other day.
You shouldn't go out without your breakfast.
Sensible people always take a constitutional before breakfast. It gives them an appetite.
I always have an appetite for breakfast. I suppose it's because I haven't eaten for so long.
Now, do as you like. I'm going out for my walk now. I'll be dressed in 2 seconds, so if you don't hurry...
Hey, you got up without saying a decent good morning to me.
No time for that now. I've got my socks on.
David, dress warmly.
Sure, I will.
Putting on your woolen socks?
What on earth for?
For your feet, to keep them warm.
They'll be warm.
Not without woolen socks, they won't.
Well, you dress your feet. I'll dress mine.
Cat's cold. You haven't been out of the house in weeks, and now all of a sudden you want to go running around in your bare feet without breakfast in your stomach.
I'm not running around in my bare feet, and they have nothing to do with my stomach.
Oh, yes, they
now,
do.
You listen to me, young woman. Just because I was in a car accident 3 weeks ago...
And you were almost killed.
...doesn't mean that I'm going to allow myself to be pampered for the rest of my life.
David, I'm not pampering you. I just want you to be sensible.
Well, I'll be the judge of that.
Can anybody tell you anything without you getting angry?
I'm not angry, darling. We just have to get this business settled once and for all. I'm well now. I feel fine. I feel wonderful. I'm not going to be foolhardy and do a lot of things that aren't good for me. I know that the aftermaths of a concussion can be serious, and I realize that my collarbone isn't completely mended, so I'll be careful. Now, can't you trust me in that?
Well, I'm just so grateful to have you back. Too grateful, maybe, but I can't help it, David, because I know what it was like when I thought you might not come back.
Well, I'm not scolding you for that. How could I? But you just have to realize that I'm all right again. I can't drive a car, maybe, and turn a somersault in the air, but otherwise I'm all right.
I realize, I guess.
Good. Then we won't have to talk about it anymore.
Not another word.
Here's a kiss on it.
David.
What?
Just as a favor. Would you wear woolen socks?
No, my good great aunt. After all I've said, all right, I'll wear them. I'll wear them. Give them to me. Here,
Cat.
put them on or something.
Don't scowl.
Now, hurry up and get dressed. I'm a lot more interested in getting out into that fresh air than in socks or anything else right now.
I'm dressed way ahead of you. I'll be ready and waiting for you. You'll see.
That would mean the end of the world.
It's nothing but a superstition.
What is?
This business of men always having to wait for women.
Yeah, superstition nothing.
Oh, yes, it is. It's one of those things that make a man feel like a man. David, put the toothpaste on your brush for you.
Good service in this hotel. Say, Claudia, what makes a man feel like a man?
Complaining he has to wait for his wife is typical of the sex, like shaving.
Claudia, you're getting toothpaste all over the floor.
Where?
Here.
Where?
Right here. Wait till I get up.
Oh, well.
Now get back over the basin where you belong.
You asked me a question. I was only being sociable.
It's typical of a woman to always be late.
If I were brushing my teeth, I'd tell you a thing or two.
Actions speak louder than words.
There. All washed and brushed and practically dressed. So, who's almost ready first?
You'll see.
The basin is all yours.
I'm now waiting for you, my love.
Oh, I hate you.
Yes, waiting for the woman I married. But I'm not complaining.
Ha, much you're not complaining.
My only complaint, and it's a small one, is that man the bachelor is not sufficiently forewarned about man the husband. It should be in each marriage vow, you know.
What should? Oh, where's my coal?
Yes, in each marriage vow, the line should read, "Wilt thou promise to love, honor, and wait for this woman?"
Very funny.
Too true to be funny.
Well, you don't have to put yourself out anymore. I am ready.
Oh, so quick?
Oh, such cutting sarcasm.
Allow me to tell you, woman I wait for, that you are a very cute trick in those slacks.
Sweet talk won't make up for what else you've said.
Didn't expect it would. Come on, let's go. The day waits without.
Without what?
I will ignore what you consider humor. After you, madame.
Such a beautiful day, too. It's much too beautiful to be kept waiting. Without. My goodness, the house is still. Mama must be asleep and Bertha's giving the baby his bottle. He's quiet, too, for a while.
I guess Fritz is up at the barn.
We are lucky, aren't we, David?
You bet we are.
Lockwood. Maybe I ought to go kiss the baby good morning.
You just said he was asleep.
Oh, it's not for him. It's for me.
Well, in that case, we can save the ritual until after our walk and breakfast.
Heartless.
Well, there lies the great outdoors.
To smell the air, it's so clean and cool. I can feel it all up around my throat. Like a kiss.
You warm enough?
Look at the fog clinging to the side of the hill.
The dew's so heavy, the sun rising makes it fog.
We'll walk on the path. Oh, David, all this on our own doorstep.
And still people fight wars.
I'll never know why. Sounds like Bluff.
Hey, Bluff!
Somebody told him you were going to be out this morning.
Great Danes don't have to be told. No dog does.
Look at him come running across the fields.
Over the fence he went.
Look at him. He's been visiting Matthew Warren's police dog. Bluff and she are great friends.
Nothing serious, I hope.
I don't think so. Yet.
Hey, come on, boy. Easy, boy.
He's so excited at seeing you.
Come on, easy,
wonderful.
boy. Oh, hello there, Bluffo.
Oh.
Hello there, you big
Gosh,
fella.
it must
Come
be
on.
awful to be a family without a dog.
It's not a family without a dog.
Or a man.
Say, Bluff, you want to come for a walk with us, boy?
I'll say he does. David, look how he wags his tail. He looks as if he was doing a rumba.
All right, then, Bluff. Now, you can come along. But let me tell you something now. Now, listen. Hold still. Listen. Now, quiet. Now, you have to be very quiet about this walk you're going to take.
I don't think he's bright enough to understand English.
Well, he understands, but it's not the English.
Which way will we walk?
How about the path to the hill? The sun's rays are at such a slant. The days have become so short.
3 weeks since you were out, darling. 3 long weeks.
So it is. Well, nature seems to have made the most of them, hadn't she?
She doesn't have to wait ever for anything.
Next thing we know, the leaves will be all on the ground and it'll be winter.
Winter's so bare.
Oh, you'll like it in the country. Quiet and white and private.
Maybe I will like it when the snow comes. No day, spring, summer, winter, nothing could be like today. All the color, all the ripeness.
Most people think that fall is sad.
They're crazy, it isn't. Fall is summer, all worked up into a state of excitement. So excited it just can't bear it anymore. All the leaves changing color, apples falling off the trees, the wind coming to after the heat, whipping everything up. The whole pace of everything is different. It's as if life had grown and gathered its strength all summer, and now it's quickened. All at once everything's different. I can feel it right through me.
It's like having a taste of eternity. What greater gift or privilege?
None. Except maybe that you're here and
that we're having our taste together.
the world can have its eternity, darling. I have you.
Next time you're buying household supplies in the grocery or drugstore, step over to the display rack and pick up one of those handy carry-home cartons of Coca-Cola. The 6-bottle cartons are only $0.25, and they provide refreshment for the family and hospitality for guests.
Say, Joe, have you got a moment?
Certainly, David. What's up?
I just thought you might like to come up to our hill and take a good look at the countryside.
Oh, I certainly would like to do that, David.
It's quite a sight. If I were an artist and saw it, I'd stop painting.
You know, I suspect that you're going to hate the day you have to start going back to work.
That day is tomorrow or the next, too. I'm well again. It's time to get back into harness.
Yep. What must be done, must be done.
Yeah, Roger's coming up tomorrow to say hello. Suppose he'll be happy I'm coming back to the office, or am I being conceited?
Well, any other man would be delighted, but your partner's a very exceptional gent. I wouldn't predict his reactions. No, not Roger's.
Well, we'll see. Now, about this view from the hill.
Well, I'll be with you as soon as I say that every day, Monday through Friday, Claudia comes to you transcribed with the best wishes of your friendly neighbor who bottles Coca-Cola. So listen again tomorrow at the same time. And now this is Joe King saying au revoir. And remember, whoever you are, whatever you do, wherever you may be, when you think of refreshment, think of Coca-Cola. For Coca-Cola makes any pause the pause that refreshes. And ice-cold Coca-Cola is everywhere. These broadcasts are adapted for radio by Manya Starr, and the entire production is supervised and directed by William Brown Maloney.
From 75 years ago, October 11th, 1948, Claudia. Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on this Wednesday, and we will have another edition tomorrow. In the meantime, visit our webpage, classicradio.stream, to help support the program. That's at classicradio.stream. Have yourself a great day, and we'll be back tomorrow on many of your favorite podcast apps.